The president is staying busy, though, monitoring a new round of threats from North Korea. For more on this, we bring in Franco Ordoñez. He is the White House correspondent for McClatchy Newspapers. Thanks for joining us, Franco.
Thanks for having me.
So we've heard some pretty inflammatory stuff out of North Korea reacting to the news of the new UN sanctions. North Korea saying that they're ready to teach America a severe lesson, that their intercontinental missiles are within firing range of the U.S. And we dip back into a tool we've used over and over again, more sanctions. How will these sanctions be any different?
Well, I mean, I think that's a tell. I mean, will the region, will the countries, will the other countries, say China, continue to back these sanctions? I mean, the increased amount of these rounds of testing has raised more concern in the area around the region. South Korea is extremely concerned. South Korea is not only concerned about North Korea, they're also concerned about what the Trump administration will do. We've been reporting how they are actually considering building and developing their own nuclear arsenal just in case they can't count on the United States. So the tensions are rising and rising in this area.
Right. Bringing that up, that is, I'm sure, a primary concern for all parties involved, the rising tension in that area. From a strategic perspective, how can the president defuse the rising tension?
That's that's the million-dollar question. I mean, I can say that in other country scenarios like this, just take Venezuela, for example, where tensions are rising. The government has largely tried to not do it unilaterally. They've tried to do it from a regional aspect. They've tried to get other neighbors involved. That appears to be what they're trying to do with the UN as well, getting other countries, the UN, allies together, supporting this. They're even trying to get Russia. Obviously, Russia's being involved to a certain degree. They want China. China needs to stick to the package. So the idea is not to go at it alone.
I want to switch gears a little bit with you and ask you a little bit about Special Counsel Robert Mullers' expanding investigation. We reported last week that he's now using a grand jury. All the while, the president is still calling this whole thing, this investigation, a fabrication, the idea that there's any connection between the Trump campaign and Russia. But Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein was on the weekend talk shows, and he made it a point of saying that this is not a fishing expedition. Why do you think he made those comments?
Well, that's just to show that there is clearly a point that they want to direct at. They're looking at this in regards to Russia. They're not trying to bring in all different types of things. If, for example, Special Counsel Mueller finds some other type of misconduct, other type of things that maybe warrant a different investigation that are outside the scope of the Russia investigation, he's going to have to go back and essentially get clearance to pursue that. That doesn't mean that they're not going to give that clearance, but they want to make sure that it is focused. But it's just to say that he's not just, throwing, spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. There is a target here.
Right. And, the way this investigation has sort of been moving and the way at times we get some information and not all of the information about meetings or interactions, it's difficult to predict just what direction the investigation will go in.
Yeah, I mean, what we have seen is there's likely two directions: the financial direction, and there's also the questions about collusion, obstruction. It's clear from reports, from what we've been seeing, that Mueller has been investigating the financial aspect, what type of financial connections that may there have been. Now there seems to be a little bit of dribbling reports that, hey, he's looking at the meeting with Donald Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner back in June. That seems to suggest that he's also looking at potentially collusion. So, there's a lot going on. There
certainly is. Okay, so on to some news from today. All right. Vice President Mike Pence definitely pushing back against a New York Times report that says he's possibly gearing up to launch a presidential bid for 2020. And he really did not mince words. He was very clear about that was definitely not the case. But clearly, that report made him feel quite uncomfortable. Tell me about the impact you think, sort of the fallout of a report like this. The report didn't just talk about Mike Pence. It talked about other Republicans who may be gearing up for a run during the next election.
Yeah, this is not the kind of report that Vice President Pence wants out there. You know, just us talking about that is embarrassing to President Trump. We know that President Trump doesn't like this type of speculation. Obviously, he's tweeted out that he's going to continue to run and he's backing up. You know, I would like to point out, though, in this report, there is an important disclaimer there that says, you know, Pence and the others and Cotton and the others who are considering this, you know, they are possibly preparing or feeling it out if Trump is unavailable to be there. So, you know, still a lot has to happen. What we were just talking about, the Mueller investigation, you know, there's still a lot to go on before that happens, but it's definitely a reflection that there are challenges in the GOP and there are questions about that staying power of Trump.
Right. Franco Ordoñez, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.